You're now experiencing the Gretna Bill Show.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Gretna Bill Show. It's a podcast about cycling culture and community here locally in Gretna, Central PA, and the world. And today we have our usual co-host, Todd Hausabel.
What's going on?
And we have two team members from Team Skyline, Adam Carr, Ryan DeWald, and of course I'm Gretna Bill. And so, you know, Ryan, this year we started talking early on when you wanted to pull the team together and you were looking for sponsors, and we talked a bit, and then I kind of lost track of you, and then the season started. So then I started following you on Strava, and I realized, whoa, you were in Canada, then you were in Pennsylvania, then you were in Mexico. Is that correct?
Yeah, Italy.
And then you went to Italy and raced, and then did you race other places?
California somewhere in between?
Yeah, we were in California over the
somewhere
winter.
in between, right?
Yeah, it was full tilt. You know, the first year of throwing together a continental professional road team,
Which is called Team Skyline.
Team Skyline, yeah, Team Skyline. It's kind of not far off of what your shop started as. You know, the original Gretna shop in Lebanon. You know,
Mount Gretna mountain bikes.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. And it's a same size shop. It's on Perkiomen Avenue in Reading, and we started a pro team out of there.
That's amazing.
And went around the world racing bikes for a mission. You know, we're chasing this diabetes thing that happened to me about 5 years ago. Type 1 set in, late onset, and kind of revitalized the whole program.
So we were talking a little earlier about it. So how did you realize that something was wrong with your blood sugar?
Oh man, I didn't know anything was wrong with my blood sugar. I thought I had cancer.
Oh jeez.
I thought this something is definitely wrong, and it's $1,200 to go get your blood work done. But it's like, man, maybe I should go race in Texas with my friends
Instead.
You know, you kind of weigh these
balance it
things
out.
out, like take a couple trips, or go to the clink. And I didn't go to the clink. I went on the road with my buddy for about 50-60 days, traveling around the South racing, and by the time I got back, I was so thin, and my hair was falling out, and it was just maybe I'm drinking too much, maybe I'm just getting older, you know.
We always all think that, right?
Right, yeah.
That's the first thing in the morning. Maybe I should have drank one less beer.
Right, yeah. So that was kind of the situation, and I knew something was really wrong. Though I started cramping all the time. I was getting up all night, having to go piss, you know, and. Same thing. I was with this with a younger guy, and he was really chasing the dream, and I just wanted to try to lead by example. So I was quiet. I didn't want anybody. Yeah, like sucking it up. And
Rule number 5.
Yeah.
To be specific.
And then I started losing my vision, and I couldn't see the road signs, and I didn't ride at all, and that's the problem. You know, we were doing 300 miles a week, almost every week, the whole time on the road. Racing every weekend, different town, and I was eating nothing but whole food salads because I knew if I ate a plate of pasta I was going to feel like shit. So I was just, I'm getting older, I got to cut carbs, and I was 155 pounds, 6'2", and the sickness of the sport of road racing is everybody's happy. You're going to be able to get over the mountains with the young guys or die
Because you weigh less.
Yeah, right, exactly. You know, I'm way down on weight. And it was an interesting story of leading up to it. Late onset usually adds an interesting story because people don't want to go to the hospital. The healthcare system is a bit jacked up right now, where that's the last thing you really want to do, especially when you're chasing bike racing. So that's what really set things off. When I got back, I went to the doctor. I paid for the blood work, and they, call you up right away. The next morning, my family doctor says, Ryan, come in, don't drive, have somebody drive you. That's the first sign, I was right, something was wrong. Right?
Yeah, I'm gonna die.
Went with the gut there, right. And, they took me in, they said, you have type 1 diabetes. I thought, sweet, don't have cancer.
What's that?
Right. Well, actually, I do know about it, and I understood everything about type 1 and how it worked, and carbohydrates, and I was 34 years old, and understood that, and I'm so thankful I wasn't 12. And that's the age that most people get it. And man, I went into the hospital for 2 nights. My blood sugar was 740 or like close to 800. My A1C was 14.6. So the chart would stop at 13 when they're trying to explain to you what happened. And all right, go into the hospital. They slowly just giving you insulin, bringing your blood sugar down. And I get out of the hospital at 8 o'clock at night, and I got to go to the West Reading Pharmacy and get insulin and get my meds. You know, they don't give you anything. They give you a book and a little bag with pamphlets in it and stuff. You know,
Congrats,
like,
you've got diabetes.
right? That was the extent of it. And I got out of the hospital, went to the drugstore, got the insulin. Okay, yeah, here's my prescription. Here's this. The lady says that's going to be $1,200. It's 2 insulin pens. I thought, I'll be right back. Let me run to the ATM. And then it was like, you can only take $600. Right. So I was like, over to another ATM, you know.
Wait till midnight.
Well, no, because the joint closed at 9. The scramble was on. I got just introduced to, now I get my first hypoglycemia, you know. Yeah. So I'm at the drugstore. I'm driving a car. Don't know what's going on. What am I trying to do here, you know? Like, I mean, it all happened right then. It was all pretty surreal. And I made it home. I made it through the night. The next day, it's like it dawns on you. Okay, you want to eat 2 injections. You know, you do 24 units of Atlantis. You're on a sliding scale of what the doctors give you, and you're guessing, and you're just jamming needles into my abdomen and trying to function and eat. And you know, I started gaining weight. I started coming back to life a little bit. I'm going to go ride my bike. It's about 2 days after getting out of the hospital, and I jump on my bike and I gotta prick my finger and check it with a blood meter. Like, you know, I'm not gonna be able to do this on the bike.
Right.
And that was tricky. I had like a bunch of sugar with me, but you know, it's such a volatile substance.
Right. So segue to present. So now, how do you monitor your blood? Because you obviously had a great race season.
Yeah.
In Europe with the big boys, you were just telling me about that 240K in Italy in the rain, and you guys were averaging 35 miles per hour, and you guys all hung, and you dropped the mentioned data team. Is that correct?
No.
I think they dropped a few people.
No. I remember this vividly. He was actually in the split. He was up the road in the break. Dimension data wasn't in it. All of a sudden, 200 dudes, single file, it's 45 degrees in the rain, and it's coming to the, you know, we're getting down to it. Like, I'm stoked to still be there.
They're riding echelon, like, yeah.
I'm bumming gels from dudes in foreign countries. My blood sugar's going low. I'm bumming gels. Dimension data's bringing back the break. I'm eating shit and jamming gels down my neck. And I'm wondering where Adam is. You know, he's up the road.
Meanwhile, Davey's coming back through the cars, so nobody's near each other with, you know, 160
it's chaos.
riders.
It's chaos.
And that would be Dave Dawson.
Yeah, Davey. Fully caffeinated, and it's, you know, there's 20 roundabouts. It's pouring rain, freezing cold, slick. I don't know how fast we're going in a single file, and I'm like, wow, out of gear. You know, out of gear, full RPM. So anyway, I'm checking my watch. I have a watch here. I read. I see my blood sugar on my watch.
So how does that work?
Well, I carry my phone, and then I put it through to my watch, and that tells me how I'm rolling. I don't know if you're probably not going to be able to see that, but that's the system. So I got to carry my phone when I race, which is against the rules. There's all kinds of things. Insulin's against the rules. TUE's for everything.
Which is awesome, because he's the only one that doesn't have a radio, while the rest of us have radio, so we can talk to each other. We just started screaming to Ryan.
Whoa.
Yeah. They just yell at me.
Too much to carry with the phone, the radio, and all the food, so we have the radios. Tachi, our director, has the radio, and then we just yelled in his ear.
So did you have to get an exception to be able to carry that?
Basically, yeah.
Okay. TUE for your device.
TUE for the insulin and the device?
Yeah, exactly. All that stuff. And then my manager, Tachi, he'll have his watch on hooked to my blood meter, so he can see in the car what my blood sugar is.
Oh, well, that's incredible technology there.
So if it goes crazy, he radios into the boys, tell Ryan to eat.
Or if somebody has extra, you know, anything along those lines.
Guys just start coming up handing me food.
Extra clip blocks, something measurable.
We'll bring everybody up to speed a bit in that a TUE is a therapeutic use exemption. It's what they granted Chris Froome for his allergies, correct? What was that, butanol or something?
Salbutamol?
Salbutamol. Yeah. So, so you had to get that.
Yeah, you have to go through all the steps, right? Yeah, the whole UCI process to run in a pro team is a lot of red tape, and we're super by the book. We're trying to build a sustainable platform on this, so yeah everything's pretty tight, and that's how it went. And all year, the past 5 years, that's how it's been, and it started out with young riders from the area, and now we're full on. We got a good little program set up, and it's growing, and it's all about that technology that I'm using to race. It's the same technology that allows people to let their kids go off to college and they can still share and watch their blood sugar, so they don't have to worry. It's that peace of mind. Or when your kid goes to bed, or if he wants to go do sports. So that technology is what winning the race with diabetes is about, and it's about getting that technology to the people that can't afford it. It's about 8 to 10% of diabetics that get diagnosed annually, out of the 40,000 that get diagnosed annually, about 8 to 10% get that technology. And I think that technology needs to be available to everybody if they want to choose it with this disease.
Is that where we enter with your foundation? That's what you're trying to accomplish?
That's the goal, man. That's the goal, and it's aligned. Using the pro team to spread that message throughout the world.
Spread that narrative, yeah.
So tell us about your foundation and how can our subscribers or viewers find out more?
The name of it's Winning the Race with Diabetes. It's winningtheracewithdiabetes.org is our website.
And we'll put that in the link below the podcast.
Yeah, it's linked right to teamskylineprocycling.com. Okay. You can find us pretty easy there. And we set up a platform through the foundation, so we would host rides in all the towns we go to. Like, everybody wants to ride with the pro team, so we just you'd put up a bike reg, free, totally free. We're not trying to, we just want people to know. It's awareness, and that's the thing. And so we host a ride, and everybody comes just to ride with the pro team. Some people don't know anything about diabetes. Some people have somebody that was affected, or type 2 diabetes, or whatever it is. It's like 1 out of 3 people are affected by diabetes.
Wow.
So, it went, and sometimes we'd have 20, 30 people show up. Sometimes we have 2 people. Sometimes nobody would show up. We found weekends work best. But we race on the weekend, so sometimes it's like before the race in the morning, we do a ride and invite the people, and then the local news would cover it, or the paper, and it really grew. And then we started speaking we have another type 1 diabetic on the team, young 23-year-old Justin. I met him through the Novo Nordisk program, and he's with us too. So that's that's been a great addition. Okay. So it adds 2 people that can talk about the disease while we're racing. Yep. And man, you'd be surprised how many people know a lot about it or know somebody that's affected, and it brings people out. So we ended up speaking in universities, community centers, hospitals, all these different, every town we go to. Yeah. So we did maybe 25 events this year, and some of them are in other languages. We had translators and all kinds of crazy stuff happening. But it's built this platform, and it built a network because we travel so much. You're talking like 70 different events in 45 different cities throughout the year, and we met people, and we built this platform, and people are helping, and doctors, and now we're aligning all our efforts to Harrisburg and then DC. We're just trying to get in the door at Harrisburg, meet with our senators and legislation that's already in existence to get these devices to the people that need them. And it's not the cure for type 1. It's not, it's not a death sentence, diabetes, but it is something that can really make people's lives a lot easier. And it's not that expensive. The money is around for this, and that's our goal at Team Skyline and Winning the Race with Diabetes.
That sounds really great. So tell us a little bit about the plans for Team Skyline going into next year.
Well,
you guys are going to do it one more year.
For sure. Yeah, we're definitely.
Well, first of all, how old are you, Ryan?
Yeah, well, that's it.
But no, what I was going to say was Chris Horner when he won the Vuelta was 42, correct?
Yeah, so that's it. I turned 40 this year. I'll be 41 next year. So yeah, I'm getting long in the tooth, but I can still roll, and it's still an inspiration to myself and Justin are the only type 1 diabetics in America racing with a professional license.
That is an outstanding statement.
And it's not like we're just getting by or just starting the races.
You guys are right.
You're
doing well.
You're hanging.
Yeah, we're at the front, and definitely anything domestically. And we're rolling through some of these races, but there are times when we're doing, like, we did like a UCI 1.1 that was a little, we jumped into stuff over our head for sure, but it was just, we needed to do that. But I was like at the back thinking, oh no. But then I realized that those guys were all winning stages of the Giro and onto the Tour, and if you watch the Tour on TV, you think, wonder how fast they go. We know.
It's nice to know.
We know what it's like to race in Europe over huge climbs with.
But it's also nice
riders.
to get a taste of what's possible. Everybody thinks that racing at a continental level is not necessarily a death sentence, but a dead end. And on the world scale, I think it's still a great place to be. It's an affordable way as a professional team to do a lot of things, and there are not a lot of American continental teams racing abroad. And so, we've got some sponsors in Italy, but we had some doors certainly opened because, we were unique. One, we had the platform with diabetic education, prevention, and beyond that, just a bunch of Americans going to Italy to race their bikes.
That's a solid point. This year we had one of the fewest numbers of Americans racing in the Tour. It was 3, right? It was Chad Haga, who else?
Yeah, so we had 3.
Yeah.
TJ and
And we had Ben.
And we had Ben King. So the point is that where Colombia road cycling is on the up, U.S. cycling is down. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and say my thinking was I met so many young, great riders in the 90s like yourself, and even back before like 2010, and they'd go to Europe and they just would come back dejected, riding 600-700 miles a week, and they're not making it, and they're going, you know what I got to do, right? I'm like, yeah. So I decided not to do it. So I'm back here, and but so that might be part of it. But what you're saying is you guys did it for real, did it clean, and
I mean, it's certainly still possible. People have to adjust their perception on, well, one, what it means to be a continental professional in the United States. But again, one of the things that we sort of decided to do beyond the diabetic, platform that we have is, strictly on the racing front, is it's expensive to be a professional team. You've got Continental, Pro Continental, and Pro Tour in the United States. Continental can exist as Pro Continental because we just don't have the budgets to support the necessities for bigger teams. So on the rest of the globe, a Continental team is considered a development team. So if you're a Continental team in proper Europe, you literally are a development team. Well, here in the States, because of financial constraints, you've got Rally. Before they were Pro Conti, they were Continental, operating as a Pro Conti team. They had a very large budget. They had a 4-continent program. So the ability of what you can do as a Continental team is much greater than what people ever think it is. If you have an international perspective and, trying to educate people on diabetes and the challenges that presents high-functioning, abled sports bodies, we think that has a good place around the globe. So starting off as a Continental team does not limit us to North America. So, we thought that was kind of exciting because we certainly don't have a $500,000 budget. We'd like to, but we can do a lot with what we have.
Solid. That was a great explanation.
Well, yeah. To answer your question, where we're going,
yes,
it's unstoppable right now, because what we've come to terms with is that having this diabetic mission attached to a professional cycling team is definitely put you on an upward trajectory. It's a major problem, and it's being brought to light by professional cycling, which is, let's face it, it's the #1 majority activity in the world, riding a bike. In a global,
it's accessible.
That's why we went in that direction, and where we're trying to go now. We want to go pro. We want to go Pro Continental as soon as possible. So if we got to do another year next year as a Continental team, we will. Right now, we're working hard to try to make that next step. But we got a visitor.
All right, so we were just talking here about revisiting, going old school. So in the very beginning, we had the Mount Gretna mountain bike shop, and in comes a young kid and with his dad, and he's like, hey, looking for a sponsor. I'm starting to ride mountain bike. And that would be Ryan DeWald. So we sponsored him, and then what happened? You basically started winning some races.
Yeah, I think we started traveling, Bill. I mean, we had that Subaru Justy. I was about,
Justy.
I was about 15, you
You're
know?
always scared
Bill's
to get
like,
in
can
that
you
thing."
drive? I was like, yeah.
I felt like I actually had to get out of that car and walk a couple times, maybe.
Yeah. I remember just getting my permit.
So then we got you a real. Well, you had the Trek, the Y bike, and then we got you on a Santa Cruz Heckler.
First generation Santa Cruz Heckler.
And at the time, the mountain bike scene was just erupting.
Huge.
We're in the mid '90s, and at that time, Floyd Landis was kicking
My
everybody's butt. Yeah, he was your idol. And so, Floyd went pro the 1 year, and then I think followed closely thereafter, Ryan went pro. So we always thought, oh, Ryan's the next heir apparent to the Floyd Landis legacy.
I
Are
tried.
we Norba Prime?
Yeah, this is still Norba now.
Still Norba.
For those of you out there, that's the National Off-Road Bicycle Association.
One of my favorite stories, and I think it's probably right about when we met, there was a lot of us young guys racing for Bill, because Bill was just he was like the guy to know. And there was, you, me, Jake, Dave, all these guys. But I think the first day I remember meeting you, I think you're probably 15, and it was Bill's bike race here. And we had both just started racing. And I think I had just made it into senior. I think I was 18 and you were probably 15. And so my race starts before yours, and I'm about a mile or two before the finish. And all of a sudden, this Y bike just goes flying by me, jumps this log, and I'm like, what was that? Maroon Y bike, right?
Yep.
And it was Ryan, and that's when, that's my first memory of you, is just this kid that just could smoke. And I've never forgotten, there's certain things you remember in life, and that was a great moment for me. We all grew up around the same time. We all have similar stories, but we all have different stories too. So it's great to reconnect after
all those years.
All those years, yeah, absolutely.
We used to go up to Mount Snow to the Nationals. They had a couple of great ones up there. And Ryan, you did really well in your age group. Didn't you win or?
Yeah, basically,
podium?
I was always battling for the win at the Norba races.
Who were your contemporaries then? Was it Jeremiah Bishop or did he?
No, he was older. He was a year or two older than me, but it was Tom Danielson, Ryder Hesdegel,
Ryder
Seamus McGrath. This generation of riders, and man, they were fast. They were dialed at everything tight and right, and I was like this wild child,
tight and right.
They were very regiment, and I was loose and really fast. And that's.
I think you described yourself aptly.
Yeah.
Speaking of loose, one of my favorite memories is the naked crit. At the Mount Snow and on Saturday evening,
Marla Streb.
So, Marla Streb. Enough said. Anyway, Ryan won that too that night. And he was wheeling with one hand.
No, that too. But I was the win. I was racing for the win there, and I got the gap, man. I had the gap. I was going. Once I had the win, I started busting the no-footed wheelies.
Yeah.
And man, that was tricky.
And
It was a gravel parking lot.
I don't want to burn any bad images in the viewer's head of Brian doing a one-handed wheelie on his mountain bike, buck naked.
But you just did.
I just did, and I apologize for that.
I just wonder how many people were in that parking lot.
Yeah.
And if they're tuned in now,
right?
Comment
below.
Dude, in those days, we used to get such crowds for those. Now, well, they still do, but I mean,
it was a human.
heyday.
It was a human oval that would be banked by the end of the night, and they'd be saying, "Wow, bring out the chicks, get rid of the dicks."
Yeah, exactly.
Dude, I won more money winning the naked crit than I did in the whole Northern National Series.
That's
It was like a 12-pack of beer full of 1s and 5s, and then I started finding 20s in there. And at the time, man, I might only had about $40-50 to my name.
So that's huge.
This
huge.
was mega.
Yeah, that's huge. That's great.
So the naked crit. So that was, you're talking 94, 95, 96.
Yeah.
It was a long run.
So when did you start riding the road and turn pro on the road?
2002, a friend of mine, John DeLong from Reading, came over. He said, "Hey man, let's go over to Belgium." I had about $700 in a credit card with about $300 limit on there. And I was like, all right. And I found a computer. I bought a ticket on Priceline.com in 2002. Early spring 2002. And John and I went over there, stayed in a youth hostel, went to a group ride, met a dude. He said, I know a guy, it's 180 euros a month rent. He'll take you to races.
And he's like 180 years old too.
The dude's name was Boone.
Stat Boone.
Yeah, this was a Boone vacation, and it was this old farmhouse in Ghent, Belgium, and this is where you had to go to make it on the road. And I was total mountain biker, didn't know anything except get ball, don't stop, put your head down, and make it over rocks and roots, and jump whatever was in your way. So that ended up being like cobblestone, sand, and human bodies. So I was making it to the front, making it through these. Well, it took me about 2 months to finish a race in Europe.
Okay.
And then I started doing it, and the U.S. national team was over there. So, I'm like, hey, I'm American. You got 10 guys out the ass the first 40K of this race. I got 30th place. The only American to finish, or me and John were the only 2 Americans finishing these things. And next thing you know, we're in the south of France. Our bikes all dialed in, water bottle, everything set up, and the national team jersey. And we were only going to stay for a couple weeks over there, and we just rode out the season. And 2003, Bill Laudine, sportsbook.com popped up. I had a good spring. Then that kicked in, sportsbook.com, the Millcross in Ireland, a whole bunch of big races. First year I did Philly. San Francisco Grand Prix. It was full tilt right into Snow Valley Olympic trials, and I never looked back. I've been riding with fly-by-night Division III pro teams all over the world for the past 15, 20 years.
Hey, you raced in China too. I remember you did the tour of China, didn't you?
Yeah, that was really crazy. That was before the Beijing Olympics. I might have got diabetes over there. That might have been what tweaked the immune system.
Was that with Rite Aid?
Yeah. Racing in China. But yeah, that was the run, and I'm still doing it, but I really think I learned a lot from it. I never did it with a silver spoon in my mouth. I did it with love, passion, and the sport carries that, and I think that's where we're going to move forward. So it's going back to when I was a kid riding for Bill. Now I'm the guy that has a small bike shop in Pennsylvania, and I got all these kids coming in ripping wheelies, and my focus, besides the pro team, is getting these young kids from my town, because there are some with talent, that have it. Now if I can put a helmet on them and get them on a mountain bike and take them up onto the trails, that's been the goal. And I'm getting a crew of them going. And my dad is on his e-bike, taking them out there, showing off the trail systems that we have in this area. Awesome. And that's the real push. And Bill was my inspiration, and still is. So.
Thank you.
We're going.
You're mine too, dude. Todd, what do you got?
I got a couple things. We've had some viewers comment and approach us after a couple of the last episodes that we have. So I took some notes. I'm going to talk about them. But I do have my this year's Gretna Art Show T-shirt on to follow up. A couple comments about the art show this year. I know there was some parking issues. They redirected some traffic this year. I know that the committee's going to work on that next year, and everything will be smooth. But I think that's important.
Everything will be everything.
Everything will be okay, right? So I think that'll be good. Couple comments from some people that I want to bring up. We had a guy, American Trail Dogs, comment. Well, we all have our trail dogs. We are a German short hair crew. We've got 5 short hairs. You guys will see them at some point in our videos. We have Doug, Ellie, Pippa, Goose, and Hilda. So we have our trail dogs. A lot of people want to bring back Whisper and Bill. The Gretna episode, the Gretna Art Show episode. So it might not be the Gretna Bill show anymore. It might be the Whisper and Bill show. So that's some good comments. And people asked about follow-up from the Middle Creek gravel grind. One question that always comes up is, did we pick the right gearing? We had the discussion about gearing, and I think that that debate is going to continue. A 42 is definitely enough for the race. Was there some moments where I would like to have a 44 or 46? Sure, but it was enough to get through the race, and I think that the 1x11 setup I'm running is working out pretty well, even on the steep climbs, and then the 10 tooth on the SRAM really helps so you don't spin out. And people were asking, how was the ride? Any comments on how the ride was, Bill?
Yeah, I mean, you remember all those uphill climbs that are all rutted out at Camp Mac?
Yeah.
We did that on the gravel bikes twice.
Yeah.
In part of a 61 mile
50 miles.
Yeah,
50 miles.
50 miles.
Bring back memories to chasing Floyd around Camp May.
Right, exactly.
correct.
That's what I was
I got a
thinking.
story
All
to
that
tell
was
you afterwards
flashing
about
in
that.
front of me.
Yeah.
When I'm going up this, and I'm like, I could barely make up on a mountain bike.
Yeah.
And
You're looking at drop bars thinking, no way.
right, exactly. but they held up. Testimony to GUERCIOTTI design, and and I probably made it up faster than I did on my mountain bike in the day.
So they've got a new gravel bike now?
Yep.
Yep.
That's what you were looking at in there.
Okay.
It's called the Brera, and
That's what we're both riding.
and
Very cool.
we'll take that time to thank our sponsors. It's of course Lupine Lighting Systems, and you can find those products at lupinenorthamerica.com, and also GUERCIOTTI Bicycles, and you can find those products at GUERCIOTTIUSA.com. And what do you guys have to say? Wind this up. I really appreciate you coming over here today. It's been a great day so far.
Man, this is fun. This is the organics setting that I was hoping to get into, and it's been a while since I got to see you, so I'm glad this all worked out, man.
Ryan, Adam, pleasure.
Thanks for having me on.
Todd, thanks
Appreciate
again
it.
as usual. Thank you.
Yeah, and then 6 beers.
He was early on the DHEA.
Gotta figure it out.
Didn't seem to slow him down.
It stimulates the gland that produces testosterone, right?
Right,
Yeah,
so
he was early on that.
yeah, this could be an outtake, but it's also could be part of the beginning of the show. Everybody knows lighting. so yeah, we start off by
The old school episode.
yeah, it's the old school episode here for sure. So we started off talking about Mark Light, and all you guys know him. Heck, he won the 50 to 54 National Crit Championship last year.
Wow.
And he was probably eating something crazy beforehand. He probably had some crazy
It was like
mixture in his water
106
bottle.
degrees in Georgia.
Yeah.
Like,
And he did his usual move up the gutter. Even the announcer didn't know where he came from. He was like way almost on the sidewalk.
Yep.
Remember that?
Yep.
Right at the end. So
don't see him the whole race.